Merry Christmas, people. 2015. Oh my god, I just realized I've been playing guitar. It'll be 29 years. I got my first guitar 29 years ago today. Imagine that. So I was going to do a video. I'm sending this out to my buddy John. This monster, rosewood neck. I'm flipping out over these rosewood necks, man. I didn't realize how badass they sounded. I mean, I love the maple. The maple's got this nice bite. Like if you listen to the old like Paul Gilbert stuff, it's got this kind of crispiness. I mean, it's still warm. It's still got a big sound, but this rosewood, man, it's reminiscent of the Les Paul Studio I did a video of a few years back, which was, you can watch the video. I don't know, maybe I'll post a link. It got a lot of views, but it was really smooth, and there was this evenness, you know, like something you kind of take for granted. You don't even notice on other guitars, these weird spots that might be a little brighter, and you're just kind of playing, you don't think about it, but when you play this, and every note is like, has this perfect mid-range, and this roundness to it, and this perfect sustain, it's pretty remarkable. But oh, I can't breathe, man, I ate so much today. But what I want to talk about today, I was going to do some tapping, but I'm shit in the bed. It's turning out to be way harder than I thought it was going to be. I thought I'd be like tap monster in like 3 days, and it's like, I don't even know what I want to do with it yet. But I promise I'll be showing some stuff, some progress on that very soon. But what I want to mention is something I mentioned in a previous video recently, that I was kind of babbling and not finishing my sentences, which is pretty typical. But I mentioned backing tracks and play-alongs and stuff like that. And that stuff's very popular. Loop pedals, you know, I even tell my students, you know, a loop pedal is indispensable. It doesn't matter, especially if you're playing jazz, because then you can work on the changes, you can work on the bass lines, you're comping, you can do everything, and then play over it, you know, and you could even record that and listen back. So, all that stuff is fantastic. You know, a metronome. Metronomes are indispensable. What does a metronome do, right? It keeps the time. People seem to confuse it. A metronome isn't necessarily designed to get you to just stay like that. You know what I mean? It's not... I think good timing is something you're born with, and most of us are born with it. Pretty decent timing. The metronome, where that comes into play is, I mean, if you're practicing more complex, you know, rhythmically complex things, or technically complex things, like if you're playing, if you're not using metronome, if you start playing something more difficult, you'll have a tendency to, you'll slow down a little bit when it gets more difficult. That's just human nature. Or obviously if you get kind of excited and you're playing, you'll speed up. But, you know, metronome, it's all indispensable. Jamie Aebersold play-alongs. You know, when I started playing jazz, I was by myself. You know, I had only played with metal players prior to that, so I didn't have any jazz guys to play with. So I did all solo stuff. I was doing bass lines, I was doing chord melody. And then I remember my first kind of band that I got into with this bass player, I was playing fucking bass lines. I was doing, and he was looking at me like, well, what the fuck are you doing? And he's like, man, you know, well, why are you playing bass lines? And I was like, oh my God, how embarrassing. Which is another great point, man. Like, I know I come across as being harsh and abrasive, but I mean, people need to be called out on bullshit. And people have called me out. You know, he called me out on that. He basically said, dude, what the fuck are you doing? That's not what you do. And I was embarrassed, and I was kind of pissed at the guy. But I was like, afterwards, I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? I'm sitting here playing bass lines on a 7-string. No, I wasn't 7-string yet. But, you know, he told me, he was like, dude, he said that's happened to me comping a couple of times where like a bass player or a pianist or something was like, you know, dude, shut up, you know, you're all over me. And, you know, I was kind of embarrassed, and I wanted to smack him in the face at the time. But afterwards, you know, basically they called me out. They didn't just sit there and be like, oh, this sounds like shit. They told me. And I find that to be actually very respectful. So a lot of times if I come across as being like, you know, when I talk about gear, people who are just like yakking about cables or what kind of freaking cables they connect their pedals with or the power supply. It's because it's bullshit, man. I mean, you have to be at a very, very, very high level to be worried about that stuff. And I'm not at that level. Most of us are not at that level. You know what I mean? So yeah, believe me, it's for the greater good. You know, we should all be called out on our bullshit. So with that said, all right, back to like play-alongs and stuff like that. So you got an Aebersold play-along, great drummer, great bass player, great pianist. You don't have to play anything, and it's going to sound good. So yes, you can work on some interesting things, but at the end of the day, there is no substitute for sitting down with your guitar and just playing. No metronome, no play-alongs, no loop pedal, nothing. Sit down with your guitar, because you have to create the entire world in your head. That helps you learn songs, that helps you in an orchestral manner, like you have to create the time. You have to, if you're playing single notes, you have to imagine those changes happening. And I actually had a student who didn't understand that. He was like, how do these guys stop playing? All right, they stop. And they come in on the right chord. He didn't get it. And I kind of understand that, because what he just simply needed work on imagining the music moving along. You know what I mean? That's a difficult thing. If you're playing over something like Giant Steps, you can say like it's hard to navigate those changes, but once you can navigate them, it's much easier to keep playing than to go like it's harder to stop and come in and out. So when you play by yourself, you just pick up the guitar and you might play bass line, you might play some, and it doesn't matter. It's not just jazz. You could be doing metal. You know, you're creating everything. And really, I'm gonna get a call now. I think a great example of this, in sort of a metaphor or a parallel to this, is my when I was in Thailand with my little boys, and me and my girlfriend, we got them these little, it could be any toy. They're brutal, man. They break everything. But we got them these little fishing poles, right, at like 7-Eleven, and it had a little reel, a little string, and it had these magnetic fish. You know, so you had to put the magnet on the fish head, and well, of course, they're 3 years old. They were getting frustrated because they didn't understand the concept that the magnet was at the very tip of the fish head in the mouth. So they were getting pissed that the thing wouldn't stick to the little magnet at the end of the string. And of course, they ended up breaking it. Now think about this toy. They've got a reel, a rod, with a little magnet. And the magnet has to be on the fish mouth, and then they reel it up, and it goes up, and it goes down. All right? It's very focused. It's a very focused toy, right? That's kind of what happens with music. When you have like a play along or something, it instantly kind of like narrows your field of inspiration, sort of. Not that there aren't unlimited things you could do over it, but it kind of pushes you into a certain direction. So what happened was they broke these toys, and my girlfriend, in all her infinite wisdom, tried to fix it. We couldn't fix it. The string was all gaffed up, and like, she takes a freaking coat hanger, ties a piece of like regular string to it, and that's it. And maybe she put a knot at the end or tied something to the end. Dude, these kids were flipping out. They loved it because they weren't stuck with this little reel. They were just pretending they were fishing, and then they were pretending they were cooking it, and then they're pretending they're at the market selling it. They're walking around, hasit baht, which is 50 baht. They're pretending they're selling the fish, and then they're serving it. They're pretending like, they're saying, my pet, not spicy, and they're asking me if I want water. It was the cutest thing ever. And it was like a whole world opened up as soon as you got them out of the confines of what they were supposed to do with that original toy. And I really see that how that applies to music. There's a time and a place for that. There's a time and a place. You know, you're on a gig with this vocalist. You have to play your part. You know. But when you're practicing, I mean, you need to dig in. You need to practice hard, man. Like, this isn't like just getting up and like fucking. Like, you need to dig in. It needs to be friggin'. Your brain should be like, your hands should be confused. Like, you should walk away and be like, ooh, like. You need to practice hard. People aren't practicing hard enough. But, so I'm carrying on. The bottom line is, spend most of your time with nothing. You and your instrument. Just dig in and you'll find that you become a much stronger player. You can play by yourself with confidence. You know, someone will say, play a song, and you play a fucking song. You won't just go, well, I mean, I know the riff to this Metallica song, you know, but like, it's not going to sound like the song because like, it's, someone wants you to fucking play, you will play. Because that's what you do, that's what we do. We pick up our freaking guitar and we play the shit out of it. And we don't need a drum machine, we don't need tracks, we don't need a band.